Hi, welcome to the Global Exclusive Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Shadow, and today we're joined by the full crew because there is a collaboration, and collaboration is our crew with Cotton. Cotton, welcome to the podcast.
Ha ha ha. How
And
hilarious.
before we started recording, Shadow was telling us about how he pulled a third copy of the Elric Brothers this morning off a daily. So, while we're on the topic of envy, I think we can talk about that unit.
Oh, so we're
You
starting
want
with the NV of the banner, then Edward and Elric Alpha.
I mean, the funny thing about that is I'm only doing the dailies right now just so I could get a single Roy, but I still haven't pulled a Roy.
Wait, you
So
haven't?
no,
But
I haven't pulled a Roy yet.
you can buy him with summon coins,
I'm
Yes.
I'm trying not to use my lapis here.
and
So.
yet you're doing dailies.
Okay, like not 4.5k lapis, but yes, I still am.
I mean, you could get a okay, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna go into this. So I just want to tell you that fuck you so very much, and I hate you, and my only envy on banner so far has been a soul. So I'm really
Oh, poor Barros.
yeah, I'm holding up this trend of getting on banner, off banner envies, and that sucks. It hurts, it hurts like. Yeah, I can't think of a good metaphor. Muspel is usually the wordsmith.
Is he though? Is he really?
I mean, I would say so, yeah. Because, like, if I try, I'd probably say something with a penis or someone's balls or something. Muspel, he keeps it more classy, you know?
Any comments on that, Muspel?
Let's talk about envy.
Alright.
Envy has a human killer TM, and that is literally the only noteworthy thing about him.
Wait, envy or envy? What exactly are you talking about?
That's the
like
point of
envy
the
the
joke.
unit or
Yeah.
the
Oh my
envy
God.
unit?
The unit named Envy.
This
That's
joke
the
again.
joke.
Yeah, what he said, the envy of the banner.
Yeah, the envy of the banner.
Oh my god.
So, well, I mean, hey, I want to say something about envy. I think envy has those Kuja vibes, and that's always nice.
I thought you were going for a reach, but man, you went for a real reach.
I will say Envy has a cool LB animation. He transforms into like the giant, I don't know what you want to call it, monster dog version of himself
Yeah, I mean,
with his LB. But aside from that, his STMR it feels
Sad.
like a TM.
yeah.
Why is his TMR so much more useful than his STMR? Why?
Because nobody's literally gonna get 4 envies. Well, unless you're really, really fucking unlucky.
Yeah.
Because, like, the banner is packed with rainbows, so...
I mean, we have to talk about the
Getting-
banner a bit because this is one of the first times in my memory that where they have off-banner rainbows for the limited time collaborations. They stopped doing that a while ago. But-
Didn't the Kingdom Hearts banner have that?
Did it?
I'm not
I,
sure.
I honestly don't remember. I don't
Yeah,
think
me
anybody
neither.
cared at that time because the 5-star Kingdom Hearts units were fucking garbage.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean, in
and-
comparison to the limited time, what's it called, seasonal banners that we've had, those all had on-banner rainbows only.
Yeah, that's true. But they also had, like, only NVAs and stuff like that, right? Like, or no? No, they had NVs too. No, they didn't. No, never mind.
Yeah, some of them did.
Yeah. But you're
Like,
right.
I think, I was gonna say, I think Halloween had, like, the envy and the NVAs separated out, but, like, for Chinese New Year, they were all together, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
I just checked. It looks like the original Kingdom Hearts Envy banner did have off-banner rainbows. It's just
Okay.
that the rainbow rates were lower back then, so most of the rainbows were still on banner. But
Yeah.
it wasn't because the rates of the Kingdom Hearts units were higher relative to the Full Metal Alchemist units. It's just that you got less off-banner rainbows. That was all.
I guess it hurt a bit less than 2 because we had less absolute ass trash NVs. Which is literally now we only have, like, we're in a very interesting spot in the game where 90% of the NVs you can pull are going to be total garbage. Like, because power creep is going in such a way
there's
that
units
unless
like,
you pull...
like Cloud, who can't even outdamage Tifa. There's Aerith.
no, but honestly, like, if you don't, like, if you're pulling on this banner and you get an NV, you better hope it's the brothers, Arden, Noctis, or Luna Freya, or you need to go fucking home.
or one of the
That's-
tanks.
Any of the tanks.
Okay, any of the tanks,
Or
that is
lightning.
still true.
Well, maybe. Like, Melia is obviously a lot worse than Phasey, but
Yeah, you'd probably
I mean,
not be that happy to get Melia, to be honest.
well, if you have Phasey, you're not happy to get Melia. If you don't have a magic tank, you're fucking.
But Beatrix is coming, so
That's true.
I don't know.
But anyways,
Okay.
we should talk about Greed probably.
Yes. Let's talk about Greed.
Greed
Who wants to
is
talk about Greed?
Greed is really
Or
good at
Link.
something that
Or
doesn't
is it a
matter.
Greed Link?
Well, Greed's thing that he does is kind of like so niche and so hypothetical you'll ever need it. I don't
What
know.
is this thing?
So he's a provoke tank. He is a dedicated provoke tank. He is about as tanky as an NV tank, despite being a 7-star.
Really?
Well, in
Yeah.
terms of physical damage, unless you can like entrust him on turn 1, he's not going to be good at magic damage because he needs his LBE to get 85% general mitigation, but he has a cooldown on turn 1 that gives him 99% physical mitigation. So
Oh.
he can survive physical damage just fine on turn 1, but magic damage would just flatten him.
So he's actually a provoke tank that can tank as well as an envy tank. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we completely useless, I guess. But
Yeah,
cool.
the problem is that there's no fight where you would really use this. Like, there's any fight where you're using provoke, you can use dodge provoke. There's nothing that has single target accuracy damage where you aren't using a physical cover tank.
Yeah, and I feel that even if there was, I mean, this, like what you said, Shadow, this feels like such a niche, because it'd have to be like an AoE magic trial that also hits really hard, single target, provocable accuracy damage.
Yeah.
And then you'd want to use
And
him, kind of.
ideally, you would want it to hit like a lot of times so that like Bahimi isn't just straight up better with his Mirage.
Yeah, with the Mirage, yeah, that's true.
Like
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think
And
I
a
don't
lot
think
of
it would be
things
the
would
weirdest
still-
thing to have a trial that does this. It's not the kind of thing where it's like this would be the weirdest boss we'd ever seen for him to be good. But
But hey,
it's something we haven't seen before.
But his tankiness comes from his mitigation and so on. I mean, what if you use him with the Rivera? Wouldn't that work? Or?
It could. Then you're spending 2 unit slots to get a tank, and Rivera's cover mitigation is fairly low.
Ah,
So
yeah,
I
her
don't-
mitigation is low. That is true. That is
Yeah, I don't think it would be all that impressive.
It wouldn't be
But
it-
prudent to do it.
It would be okay. Censar, if you're listening, please do a Rivera and Greed run of Asura. That would be so cool to see. But yeah.
The only time I could see that being relevant is Greed, I think, has like by far the highest single turn durability of any unit in the game, like against physical damage. So if you had a boss that just did absolutely ludicrous nuke you from orbit damage on 1 turn and was otherwise like not all that threatening, then like Rivera Greed might be worth it because he could survive if there was like a no deaths mission or something. But
Mm-mm.
that's the kind of thing where that's way too weird to really be worth thinking about. Like we've never
Yeah.
seen any fight
As
like
long
that.
as it was physical as well.
Yeah, it had to be physical. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, but
All
like
right, all right.
his durability, I think, would be somewhere around 100 times higher than Gabranth's. It's bonkers.
Yeah, I guess like if there ever is this phase shift that you're not supposed to survive, like, and you could cheese it with him, that'd be interesting. Let's see. So far, I can't think of anything, and yeah, he's a unit on a banner where you don't care about 7 stars, I guess.
I just double checked the math. It's not 100 times. It's 38 times as high.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wouldn't be.
Yeah, just 38 times tankier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, only 38. Not a big deal.
I guess for cover it would be less because Gabranth would have higher cover mitigation, but still,
Mm.
you're probably still talking about like a factor of 15 or 20.
All right, but now we need to move on to my favorite unit
No,
of this
now
banner.
we need to talk about his TM and STMR.
Oh, motherfucker! Of course we do.
No, I think he has some of the more interesting
His
TMRs and
STMR
STMRs on the
Yeah,
banner,
yeah,
right?
they're actually fine. So his TM is 60% defense, which is, I think, the highest of any materia,
Yeah, it's pretty high.
or at least the highest of any unconditional materia. Maybe there's something that goes like 80% with heavy armor or some shit. I don't know.
Cows is
Um,
80% ST. Oh no, it's SPR, I think.
That's spirit.
And then it also gives you 25% physical and magical mitigation at the start of the fight for 3 turns. That part is not like amazing, but it could be relevant for some stuff. It's mostly just a bonus when it already has decent stats. A lot of the times your tanks are going to want HP materia instead of this, but if you're capping HP, like if you have really high item world rules or something, then this would come in handy. So it's certainly not a bad item.
It would be much cooler if it actually had decent, what do you call, passive buff, right? Like if it was actually good.
Yeah, and then his STMR is body armor or clothes with 43 flat defense, 70% defense passive, and 30% evasion. So,
Not
like,
bad, I
the
guess.
defense and the evasion are kind of at odds. Like, you don't really care about both. You care about one or the other. The defense itself is... I don't think tanks are really going to want this. Like, the flat defense is low enough that if your tank has, like, true single wield or true dual wield or whatever, they're not going to want it. But
Yeah,
30%
there's too many
evasion on body
synergies
armor...
with heavy armor too, as well. Like,
Yeah, 30% dodge is the highest we've seen on armor.
that's nice though. I mean, if you actually need to build dodge, remember, like, what if we get another behemoth trial?
Yeah.
But I think the main draw for that is probably just the dodge on that. Like 30% on that is quite significant.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
have like, if you play long enough and you have two copies of Moogle Charm, and you don't need the body slot to gear for auto provoke, it can be surprisingly useful.
Yeah.
It
No, I
won't
can
be
see-
useful on tanks. It'll be useful on something like Shadow or like Vaughn, I
Mm.
imagine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, your support provokers.
Now we
Yeah.
can talk about Barros's favorite unit.
Omni-Man actually joins the game. Okay, that's an invincible joke. I'm sorry, I am really into that show. King Bradley, and so King Bradley was actually an NV in JP, right? NV base.
Yes, he was
because
an
they
NV
didn't
base,
Yes.
and then but he came to GL first as a 5-star base.
Right. But we have him as an NVA, and spoilers, but it seems like the NVAs on this banner are really good.
They're
Hmm.
they're
They're pretty
fine.
good.
They're not like I think really good is pushing it. They're really good by NVA standards, I guess.
I think,
Which is to say that they are not on par with NV.
but I think what Barros is trying to point out here is actually really important in that this is one where Alim and an extension, I guess, Gumi tried with the NVAs. Like sometimes you look at NVAs and it looks like they're not even trying. But this is one
Yeah.
case where they actually tried, and I think I
Yeah.
respect that. So-
This is certainly I think I've said this many times on the podcast before, but I don't expect NVAs to be as good as NV bases. But when they do something like this where the unit is clearly like not terrible and has some thought put into their design, I'm fine with it. I'm not thrilled to use the unit, and I probably never will use the unit, but at least they did something.
Yeah, well, you know what? Not everyone has the luxury of having the stronger units. All right, Muspel. Also, I think you're being a bit unfair because, like, Bradley is the 4th strongest physical damage dealer in the game right now. I mean, you know, he actually beats Venera, Laswell, etc. So I would still say that's strong. Yeah, sure, he's far behind, or 50% behind, or whatever, probably more from the top DPS, right?
6th strongest.
well,
Or
it depends on
7th.
who's.
Depends on whose list
if you're
you look
counting
at.
the mages.
Yeah, no, I said physical. All right,
Oh, okay.
I did say physical. And it's like,
Let's just say he's around the level of Laskin and
yeah,
Venera.
and that's pretty sweet. So I think we shouldn't downplay that. That's pretty strong. I mean, many people, myself included, he's actually my strongest DPS, physical DPS, not strongest DPS. So yeah.
He can also maintain breaks while dealing damage. I think it costs him about 10% of his damage.
Yeah, it makes the rotation a bit awkward,
Yeah,
but it does
if it's
work.
a fight where you're like where the boss is getting dispelled a lot or something, I'm sure it's a lot worse. But as long as that's not an issue, you'll be fine.
Yeah, the problem is that you're going to be shifting stances, which is it's a bit cumbersome, awkward, as you said, Dream.
He does have true brave
Yeah.
shift though, so
Yeah.
it's not as bad. Like yeah,
no,
it's
but
kind.
yeah.
It could be cumbersome, but it's just saying that there's no cooldown in between, so you won't get as punished hard for it.
And look, to be fair, like he does also have some niche in dark visions as well, since he has the strong 85% break, and he also does fire lightning imbue, and or 150% man human killer buff. So there is some uses on certain dark vision stages as well if you don't care about all the other content in the game.
Yeah, I mean,
And you can potentially gear his base form evade and use his cover in DV as well to.
So
absorb
just to
physical
check,
damage for that.
Gumi doesn't know how accuracy works, right? Like I'm looking at his shift LB. They clearly don't know, right?
wow.
I mean, I assume it's like super excessive for flavor,
His
but
Brave Shift LB increases his accuracy by 250%.
So wasn't
I'm
that the-
going with flavor, and I'm
Wasn't-
blaming. Can we blame Alim for this?
yeah, like wasn't this guy just a straight up copy paste from Alam's version? That's what I
Yep.
remember it being.
I don't know. Let me look.
no.
Oh,
His shift is copied from his like NV base's shift
right.
form, but his base form is quite different. And In fact,
So-
better. Because he's got the brakes and the lightning amp. Which
One
But I mean,
other
technically,
thing
Muspel, listen. What if a boss has 170% accuracy debuff? All right? What if that happens in the future?
Did you have to pull out your calculator to figure that out?
No, I just... Okay, yes, I did. Okay, I'm sorry. No, but
okay, better question. Do you think that Gumi has a calculator to figure that out?
I think it's what Dream said. I think this is just flavor. That's what it is.
Alright, but let's talk about something more interesting and kind of fucking weird, which is that he has AoE cover.
Why is that weird?
On
I
demand?
don't think that's weird.
Oh,
Because-
true, yeah. It doesn't quite suit his character to have AoE cover, does it?
Yeah, he's not really known for protecting people.
Yikes.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, before NV, Bradley's kind of niche was, or when he was released originally on his banner, was kind of being a provoke evasion tank that also
Yeah.
could do some damage.
Which
And
didn't
now
work
they
out
also
that well.
added but now they also added the cover, so now I guess it works really well, because if you actually need a evasion cover tank, he can I haven't like looked at any builds, but I am guessing
problem
he
is-
can do some serious damage while doing that.
That's not a thing. Like we haven't used provoke or evasion cover tanks for anything in years. Anytime
I
that
guess.
like you either use Mirage or it's a boss that has accuracy and AoEs too many times for that to work. In which case you need to like Gabranth or something.
You don't always have to
Hmm.
Mirage. Because, like, say, like, Demon Chimera on the physical turns, AoE evade cover was a very
I
viable
think the
option
concern
for
I
that.
have is that his cover lasts 4 turns. Like if it was 1 turn and it was a boss where like maybe on some turns the boss used a physical AoE and you wanted to cover it instead, that would be fine. But this way, like if the boss leads with physical AoE and
Yeah.
you want to use magic cover, then King Bradley is going to jump out in front first and then you'll die.
You
Like-
you
Yeah.
guys you guys really
And I
hitting
think
it
that-
hard with a hypothetical, really possible niche
Yeah, yeah.
bosses today.
And also, I think that what Muspel wants to say is it's weird that a unit has cover that has absolutely no bulk, right? I mean, that's I guess the problem. You actually won't be tanking anything with him.
Didn't they do that with Esther?
He could maybe tank like some human
They're
enemies.
only
I
ever
don't know.
supposed to be used with evade.
Nah.
He has
But-
human mitigation.
But I mean, he's an interesting unit. You know, breaks. He does have the whole evade, cover, and provoke thing as well. And then he also has really good damage. He bursts as hard as last gen. It's a nice unit. I mean, not much depth to it, I guess. Like in the
No, there
he
is
literally a last gen unit.
There is depth. Have you seen his like base kit? Holy crap! You need a fucking PhD to learn that rotation.
Yeah, no, but I mean in the shift, like he's literally a last gen unit. He can
Oh, I know,
he
but
has
like
he has a long LB buff, and what you actually want to do is just spam his LB as much as you can. That's like the optimal rotation for him. if
You can
really-
ignore most of his base forms.
it just reminds me of a time when Glex units like Esther and well, not Esther, but Elena was like actually the biggest offender of this. Like they
No,
had
she wasn't.
ridiculous wiki pages.
The
Oh.
worst offender is Gadria.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
The second worst offender is
I
Carton.
mean, Carton is right
Listen,
there.
Muspel was so scarred by the Halloween banner that he like brings this up every second episode. Like every time somebody says this is a complex rotation, Muspel's gonna be like, "Bro, this has nothing on Carton or Godria." Every time.
And he's not even
It's
the
not
one
my
that
fault
does
that you
the
wake up at 2 a.m. and
rotations.
do them.
Yeah.
Wait, Muspel doesn't do the rotations?
It's like
Wait,
mid-evening
Muspel
for
doesn't
me.
do them? Who does them? It can't be Dream, can it?
Oh,
Listen,
come on.
listen, Cotton.
Don't do
You need to
this
ask
to me,
yourself,
Carton.
what does actually Muspel do?
He
So,
he
no,
becomes
no,
the face
this
for
is-
all the hate sync.
No, this is what
That's
happens,
true.
Cotton. Every time there's math released, everyone blames Dream if there's something wrong, but we praise Muspel if it's correct.
Yeah.
So this is
It's-
exactly
Do we
great.
blame Dream? Do we even
He
blame
has the
Dream? I
best
thought we all
setup
just
ever.
blame Muspel.
Well,
No, I
usually-
blame Dream for a ton of stuff.
Well, frequently I'm the one that notices something wrong, and then I blame him. But otherwise, I get the credit.
See? All right, we need to move on though. We've been talking about Bradley, even though he is good looking and has that Omni-Man vibe with the mustache and shit. We
yeah.
need to move on.
Quick mention: his TM is
Oh,
fine.
of course.
It's really good actually. Like it's a dodge hat with some attack on it.
Yeah.
His STMR is a weapon with some dodge, but is otherwise not that important.
His STMR is unfortunately pretty bad because there's much better dodge weapons out there than this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have any flat defense, so you can't really, use it for a tank either. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't.
quite clumsy.
Yeah, there's very little reason to use his STMR unless you're really starved for options. But not many people are going to have his STMR and not have other
Or
options.
they can't equip daggers for some
Sorry,
reason.
what?
Or if someone can't equip daggers but can
then you
equip
still use
swords
the
for
wrong
some
one.
reason.
Equip as sword exists.
Yeah, but you probably dual wield
Equip
their
as sword
underline
does
that.
exist.
Yeah. All right, we need to move on
That's
to
a
Shadow's
material
favorite
slot.
unit. Shadow, what is your favorite unit on this banner?
It's Roy Mustang.
And why?
think-
No,
Why
it
did
should
you
be
also...
Armstrong. It should be Major Armstrong, man.
Look,
No, listen,
everyone
Cotton.
agrees that we should have an Armstrong unit on this banner who's just like shirtless in his base form and then shirtless and flexing in his Brave Shift. But sadly, it seems like Gumi doesn't like us.
I think the Armstrong siblings as a duo unit would have worked perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
But
No, it's
Yeah,
Armstrong.
what I was
Even
gonna say.
better.
What if it was the Armstrong siblings and then in their Brave Shift, Alex rips off his shirt and his sister is just in the background, just like, is this really happening again?
All right,
His
listen.
sister
I
should be on
think
the tank. His sister should be on the tank.
Hey, we have a fanfic brewing right now. I am taking notes, and I'm going to be writing something up after the episode. But listen. Also, Cotton, I want to say we shouldn't shame Shadow. We shouldn't kink shame Shadow, right? Because this is just a preference thing, right? Like Shadow likes Roy more than Armstrong. It's that simple, and that's okay. Not everyone likes big beefy men.
To be honest, Roy also is hot. He has just different vibes to Armstrong, okay?
Exactly. It's just an entire.
He's hot.
Funny.
Hot, I say, in many meanings of the word.
Can I say that his
Indeed.
Brave Shift sprite seems kind of lazy?
It does. I agree. I fully agree. I was just about to say it. Yes.
I think
Blame
it would have been.
Alim.
I think it would have been cool if his Brave Shift was like his post with the like his post end of the game, end of the series type thing, and maybe maybe even better, go the extra step, and make him a dual unit with Riza. I don't know. That might be pretty cool. But I mean, anyways, back to the unit. He's a fire LB finisher,
That's nice.
and he does damage.
Yeah, he's also
Decent.
still, like, for people that played back when this banner first came around, he was a pain in the ass to gear, because LB damage mage is...
I mean,
It's very tough to fit in everything you need, and it's gotten worse since then. Like, there's better options for killers, but he also
Especially
now wants a
TDA.
higher chain cap, which is a materia slot. Like, if you really want to optimize his damage, he doesn't have enough room for it.
It does help a bit more now because we have a lot more options of gears which actually give a combination of magic and limit burst damage, like Melo's TMR, Melo's STMR, Delta Sakura STMR.
Yes, but the problem is that the magic TDH cap has gone up, and also, like I said, now there's the fact that you want higher chain cap on TDH units, and he's still TDH, which is problematic because it means that he can't use like 2 killer rods or something.
I do think that there is a concern for his gearing, but for players that have him, right? So it's people that will realistically have him, or people that have played long, or at least his last banner was on. I don't think anybody would intentionally pull for Roy Mustang. So if you've already played for that long, it's more likely that you'll have the gear required, which you ideally want Aerith's STMR and or Ibarra's card. If you have those, then it becomes really easy because they cap TDH, which is the harder one, and then LB damage is all you need to do. Now, obviously, chain cap takes a priority in his materia slot, but even then, after you cap Mac TDH, there's other sources of LB damage that you can use to fill. So I do understand the concern. I think that in practice, people who actually use him won't have that issue.
He only has 100%.
Well,
He
even
only has
with
100%
both of
LB
those, he still
damage.
needs another.
So if you're using Lightning's STMR to get him to chain cap, then you have 3 materia slots to get 100%
Killers and the LB
to get killers and LB damage and 180% magic.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it isn't a concern. I'm just saying it isn't as a huge.
Also,
it's a lot less a
I
concern.
want to point out if you're not using his TM and STMR, which a lot of the time you won't be because they're like not that great. He only has 200% TDH, not 300.
His TM is fine in the accessory slot, but also he needs that to have the 200. That's all he gets.
I do think 55 mag is slightly low, but even then, it's just quote unquote fine. I think
the last thing that I want to mention is that if you're talking about dark visions, like these days, almost all the strong mages are evokers. which means that you're probably not bringing somebody with a killer buff for Zon to copy. So unless it's
Not
one of the two races that Roy Mustang can buff his own killers for, he's probably not getting a killer buff.
not necessarily. Like you definitely want Luna Freya if you're going to try to cap the Magic Dark Vision stage. But you can't just use evokers if you want to cap the stage, so you do need to bring other units, and Roy can be useful in that regard.
Yeah, you do need to bring other units. I'm just saying you
Yeah.
have to keep in mind that like he's not a lot of the time when you're talking about evokers, one of the things that is kind of a disadvantage for them is that they don't get benefit from killer buffs. Roy does get benefit from killer buffs, but you're probably not going to have one for him. Again, unless it's demon or human, which he can buff his own killers for.
And I think also
Or
one thing that's important to mention here is that the only time you'd be using Roy on DV is for the magic stage, the difficult magic stage in a Terra team, really, because like outside of that he'd be off element because he's firelocked. And he's bursting less than physical units. You're definitely not using him for the final stage. So it's quite a niche use, like, unfortunately.
Like, you can use him. The problem is that the only time that he's particularly good is Dark Visions, and in Dark Visions, he's actually not that good.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of the point. He is okay, and it's a cool unit.
He's certainly not terrible. It's just,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about pulling for him because you care about Dark Visions, don't do that. If you're going to pull for him, do it because you love Full Metal Alchemist.
And I think like I don't, again, I point this out, nobody will actually pull for him because he's a meta unit or anything. It's either people that already have him or veterans that probably just want another copy of him so they could NVA him.
Or if you want his STMR.
Oh, nice segue into the STMR talk.
Yeah, his TM is not relevant for anybody other than him, and even for him, it's like not that special. His STMR is a magic demon killer materia that also gives 60% magic and 80% fire resist. So like even for tanks, for the fire resist, you might see them use that on very rare occasions. For Dark Visions is fantastic because like the magic and fire resist already could be useful. The demon killer can be great. Just all around a solid item for Dark Vision.
Really good.
Yep, very good.
So I mean, like, and just to mention something about both Roy and King Bradley is that their 7-stars are available from the coin shop, and multiple copies of the 7-star are available from the coin shop. So if you're really looking to score one of these units, you actually can do that quite easily. So yeah, and again, they're not bad. It's like both Roy and Bradley sit in the same boat where they are not fantastic in their respective disciplines, but they are actually really strong and compared to a lot of NV bases, which is, I think, a big thing here.
The one last thing that Roy can do is he has a bit of like AoE fire team support because he has a 25% amp Grandis that he can maintain for 8 turns up to, and then like 130 Imperil, and his upgraded basic attack is a 1-turn AoE fire imbue. So that could have a niche, but again, yeah, it's like pretty borderline.
But now let's move on to the unit that everyone is waiting for us to talk about. Cotton, please. Who is
Are you
this
talking
unit?
about like the 7-star Edward unit?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Yes,
we actually should
that's
talk
the one.
about them. Like
me.
very briefly. There's two other.
Yeah.
There's
7-star
technically there's 3
Edward
other
and
units on this
7-star
banner. There's
Alphonse.
Winry, completely useless.
Riza.
Okay, there's 4 other units on this banner. Winry and Riza are useless. Edward has a good STMR and is otherwise useless. Alphonse is like fine by 7-star tank standards, but you're never going to use a 7-star physical tank. His TM is bad. His STMR is not great.
I actually think it's still the highest flat of both, isn't it?
It's the highest flat defense. It's tied for spirit.
Yeah, so it's technically gotten a bit better now that like equipment, defense, and spirit are
unless
actually...
you're like capping HP, I don't think you're going to use it much.
I mean, I cap HP all the time.
Bihimi. I say Bihimi.
I mean, hey, mate, Alphonse and Edward might have been a bit better if their enhancents had
Guys, the Crown Prince Noctis enhancements will come, so don't worry about it. We got this.
Yes.
Sure,
But let's
yeah.
talk about the new
I can't
NV
wait.
base.
Yes.
This one is the Full Metal Alchemists, or the Full Metal Alchemist and his smaller brother.
It's like, but wait, we just
Why
talked
are we,
about...
but
why
now
are we
there's
even
both
repeating
of them.
content?
Yeah, we're repeating content.
I never get tired of this Full Metal Alchemist joke. I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Because I got tired of it after the first episode.
So I think the first and most important thing to know about this unit is that they're very much like Terra in that they have a field effect. So this is going to be super useful for you on Demon Chimera.
Okay. I mean, just getting serious, like they are probably our best tag chainer right now, and will be until.
They're
I mean, yeah, multiple says that, but at the same time, Sinzar has already uploaded a Demon Chimera clear that uses.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you
like,
can do it with
Purple
them. I'm
Mail.
just saying, like, since they're physical, it's not
The
a great
physical
fight.
ones.
But
The turn limit.
I mean, this is now our strongest DPT physical chainer, right? In fact, it should be our strongest DPT chainer. Period. If you look at sufficient gear.
Well, the thing is, when classifying it, like, their biggest damage still comes from finishing, and, like, Noctis and Lunafreya still have higher DPT.
Now, I was looking, like,
So, like, they're a bit
Hang
more
on.
chain-oriented, but...
They have Tifa's chain passive thing,
Yes.
but only for normal chains, not elemental chains.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's irrelevant.
Why?
Yeah. It's very irrelevant.
God.
But let's talk about the unique thing they can do. I mean, we should mention the unique thing they can do. We also briefly mentioned this on the Newsday pod as well. But one thing they can do is actually AOE imbue 4 elements, right? Four elements.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Mhm.
but at the same
Fire,
time,
water, lightning,
clear all other imbues on those units, which is pretty cute and definitely could have its uses.
Yeah, there's some units where like they have a cooldown they want to use, but it imbues them with an element. So this is like I think the only way to remove that without also removing whatever buffs the unit got.
And
Yeah,
it's
unless
also
it's
a good,
like undispellable.
Yeah,
and it's
without
also a
full
good thing to
display.
use against the bosses that imbue you.
Yeah, that's not super common, but it does come up because
Yeah.
like the old version of Irenia's did it. The new one does too, but she doesn't absorb those elements anymore, so it doesn't matter.
What exactly were the Glex buffs, anyways? I know it was the flat attack from the TMR passive. So we should talk.
Oh, right, yeah. So they got 600... Yeah, they got 600 flat attack from their Trust passive in both forms. They got 100% extra passive LB damage in Shift form. They got their Earth Amp on their Grandis in base form boosted from 20 to 50%, and their Earth Imperil boosted from 120 to 130, and then the mods of some of their like basic chains. I think the Earth one's in base form and the Lightning Imperil one in Shift form boosted from like
Another thing I
70
want to
to
mention
80
that they
to
can
around
do
100.
that's probably not actually all that useful in practice is that their base form LB gives 70% AoE mitigation for 3 turns.
Yes, I was
Even
waiting
for
for
other
someone to
tanks,
say this.
like for Gabranth, it's obviously lower than his 75% mitigation, but you can use that and then he can defend on top of it.
Yeah.
I mean, since it is a tag chain,
Yeah,
like
frees up his
one
actions
Elric can
there.
use it to chain, the other one can just cap with shift limit burst.
Yeah. The problem is that his damage outside of his shift limit burst just isn't that good.
Yeah.
So if you're spending an LB gauge on this, it hurts his damage output quite a bit.
Yeah. I mean, his base LB is what, like about 2/3 as strong as his Shift
Isn't he
one, which
missing LB damage
isn't
pass
too bad.
in his base form?
A little bit, yeah. It's
so-
like 50% lower.
Sinzar really displays using this well in one of his videos where he's using the brothers to actually run a Behemi against Asura, and it works really well. And given that they are also tag chainers, it actually becomes quite useful. So it was a joy to see, and it made me want to get them even more. So I spent some money, even more money,
Baros.
and then I still didn't get them. So, you know,
Baros,
fuck you,
why?
Why
Sinzar.
would you spend money
Okay.
if it's not guaranteed?
Listen, this is Sinzar's fault, alright? This is Sinzar's fault. Also, I like gambling, so fuck you, Shadow. But yeah,
Baros,
this is where we are.
why? I'm not
Yeah,
saying
I know,
Baros no today, I'm just saying Baros, why?
Yeah, I don't even know myself, you know. I don't even know myself. I just hope that we have 2 more weeks of the weekly, and I hope I will get them, because I really
Also-
would like... But hold on. Wait, someone told me in the one of the Newsday podcasts that we are getting other units that can do 70% or more AoE mitigation. Who's that?
I think
Beatrix.
Beatrix
Okay. All right,
can.
that's
And
good to know, because then you could pair her with Behemi, I guess, as well. So that's good.
Yeah, but if you're bringing Beatrix, you won't bring Behemi.
Yeah,
Why?
but
Isn't Beatrix
I mean,
a magic
like-
tank?
Yes,
Magic
but why would you
cover
bring
tank.
both?
Yeah, you are...
No, but I mean, like, you'd use her just to enable Behemi and maybe do something else. I don't know.
Well, back at the topic at hand, I think the thing about this tag chain release is really interesting is that they do quite like big damage. People feel like they're not doing enough, and I know a lot of people are talking about skipping it. But here's the thing: with the release of Zidane STMR in the future, and with and Aerith quote unquote for free that they got on JP, LB damage dealers scale actually really well in the coming future. Right now, obviously, Cobalt Blade Noctis and Vermilion Blade Arden are just like at the top of the damage charts because they're jump units. But as soon as we start getting the LB passive buff things that we get in the future, we'll see. I'm not saying that they'll do really well in the future. I'm just saying they might scale slightly better than they are right now. So there's that sort of consideration.
Yeah.
It's not much of an
200%.
increase from, because like their current buff is 200%, so going up to 300 is only like a 16-17% increase.
What I'm trying to say is that I don't think that that you should pull for it, but I'm just saying that LB damage dealers in general will scale better in the future.
I think you are massively overselling Zidane's STMR. So for those that aren't familiar, in JP, Zidane's STMR is a materia that can only be equipped by bards, from what I can tell. I can't read all these Japanese names, but I think it's the bards. Yeah.
I think Zidane
and what it does is, over the next 5 turns, you give various increasing buffs. It starts out with a stat buff, then you get 100% LB damage buff, then 150%, then 200%, then 300%.
Is it like a singing ability mass spell? Does it lock you into doing that for 5 turns?
Yeah, it locks you.
Yeah.
I think it locks you.
So the unit spends 5 turns, and in exchange you get an LB damage buff that's barely stronger than what units can already do. Like, even in Dark Visions, you don't necessarily want to do this.
It's purely DV setup.
It's not that it's useless, but it's not good.
I know. I don't agree. I don't really agree with that.
Well, the main thing you use it for in DV is you use it on Zidane himself, because they are the unit who does the song. They're not locked in on the final turn of the buff, so he can then, benefit from it himself. And Zidane, you need to fully externally support anyway, so he's not doing any of the setup turns.
Guys, let's also not be too praising the brothers, because I don't think, I know what you're saying, Shadow, but I still don't think there is any justification, because we are all at the doorstep of really big power creep.
No, we're already there. We're not at the doorstep because of what they did with Cobalt Blade Noctis. We're not climbing a cliff to we've already dealt.
Well, even without that,
we've
already climbed that.
Sephiroth coming that's gonna double or triple that shit.
And then with all the new mechanics coming as well, right?
But that's another while, because the closest power creep we have is Hawkeye.
What I want to say is, I don't think you should justify pulling for the brothers because you think they're going to get better in the future. Unfortunately,
I never said that. I already never said that.
No. But I just want to clarify that, because they are going to get prepped pretty fast, and you should pull for them because you like them, or you really want to use them with Behemi. But otherwise, they are not going to get better. They are at their very top right now, and are probably going to get worse already next week. So, yeah.
Anyways.
All around,
they are all around
one other
very
thing about
solid.
them we should mention is their TM, SCMR,
nice
and Vision card.
use.
Well,
Indeed.
Vision card maybe not so much. The Vision card is fine. There's nothing special. The TM is a killer materia. Always good to have more of those. The STMR is going to be very good in Dark Visions. 45 attack, and then 50% resist to fire, lightning, water, and earth. It's an accessory. So that's a lot of resist for an accessory. It also has 45 spirit. So even for tanks, this could be great.
Yeah,
I do wish.
I don't know. I was a bit underwhelmed by it. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's not.
I think it's one of those things that sounds not great, but if you've ever used Edward Elric's STMR, like in Dark Visions, this is very similar to that, except that as an accessory.
And that material comes in clutch a lot too.
Which is a bit of an STMR. Speaking of Edward, actually, I'm just noticing it's a bit interesting that he has swapped wind for lightning as one of his elements.
I think it's just because doesn't alchemy use lightning sort of visual effects in the anime?
I mean, yeah.
I don't remember him ever really using wind.
No, but wind is theoretically one of the base elements there, right?
Yeah, but I think they might feel like lightning is a better representation of that. They're both kind of associated with air in a way.
All right. This is a very meta discussion.
But before we end, there's some really important news released this week. In Final Fantasy 14, there is finally an Australian server. Think about it. A freaking Australian-based server coming in a few months.
All right, cue the chocobos.